Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to F1 Manager episode 75. Previously, the last couple of race weekends anyway, we were waiting on the car part test center upgrade to be complete so we could roll out the next wave of upgrades. But in the meantime, another key facility, fell off on its level. So now we have the same problem that we already had. And for us, that is that the wind tunnel is now operating at less than. So it's dropped off on its performance. Car part test center's back up. Side pod chassis engine cooling has a boost. Brake cooling has a boost for for front wing. That's nice and all, but the wind tunnel has a larger impact, much larger impact. So it falling off is going to really hurt any potential upgrades that we're going to get going out there. And we don't have 27 million. In fact, from last race weekend till now, we've spent at roughly the same rate that we earned. So our balance is the same. It's hard to get to 27 million when we're essentially breaking even short term, and that's partially because other facilities are also falling apart at the seams right now. It's really hard to keep up with this. We are a day away from heading to Monaco, though, and we do have wind tunnel time for up to 2 potential upgrades to get back to where we were if we were to refurbish only. We're looking at pretty big difference in what the impact would be, and I'm not sure we can throw together an upgrade right now. I'm trying to decide what to do as we can't afford to just roll through all 6 parts, right? With the condition of everything, the car would be worse coming off of upgrades, as I was finding out recently. Now, the car as a whole right now, it's fairly good. The top speed acceleration is right about mid-pack. The cornering low speed medium is the best, and the high speed is 4th best. The DRS is 3rd and 1st, and that's out of the 20 car grid, not out of the 10 teams. Dirty air cornering is tops, and brake cooling and engine cooling are moderate, mid pack. We've got a good car now. The new underfloor is on. Last week we had new suspension and side pods that are now introduced into the car, so the car is fairly decent right now. But how do you keep going forward? Well, to decide what direction I want to go with the limited resources that we now have for the foreseeable future, we're looking at the 3 parts that are more impactful, and then the 3 parts that are less impactful used to be way behind. Now, breaking them down. Chassis, one of those weaker parts. It's balanced. It's still on the weak side, but it's about mid pack. Side pods, mid pack. Suspension is still probably the worst one. So out of those 3, if I'm going to commit time and effort, resources, it should be to the suspension. In the other 3, the front wing, the rear wing, the underfloor. The underfloor, it's not a guaranteed top number 1 across the board, but it's close. It's probably just about the best one out there, or very, very close to presumably what Red Bull has. The rear wing is number 1 across the board. So we have the best rear wing, we have the best underfloor. The front wing, it's only mid-pack, actually. Slightly better than mid-pack. So I think short term, that's an obvious candidate. That and suspension. Until we have some better resources, those are the 2 that are hurting us the most. The front wing more impactful than the suspension, but if I can get something out of the suspension, I'll take it. 30 of the 40 hours that I had remaining, so 3/4 of what's there, I'm going to give a little bit for a suspension upgrade just to give it something, but giving the majority to the front wing. If I focus primarily on the downforce side, you can see that the gains are actually mild. We're not talking massive gains here. 0.03, 0.04, 0.05. It's not big. But gains are gains. And what that does grid-wise, I mean, we're going from 5th, 9th, and here's where I'm saying we are average or slightly better than, right? 11th is the worst, 5th is the best. We're going to come out of it, though, between 3rd and 7th and everything. It is going to take close to 2 months, though, to complete this project. With a little extra cash, we can get it done in 29 days. I'll take 1 month for that. I think that's going to be a good trade-off and can certainly help the car in the later part of the season. As, like I said, of the 3 primary aerodynamic components, this is the only one that is lagging behind the competition. And while it's not the ideal scenario with the limited wind tunnel time we have, if we go all in across the board, it's improvement. It's not drastic for the suspension, but it's improvement. In terms of rank on the grid, airflow front goes from 19th to 13th, brake cooling stays 9th, and everything else is still bottom of the barrel. Suspension's got a long ways to go. Like I said, of everything, it's got the furthest to go. But you can see how close things are getting, because we just noticed how marginal the gains are, yet our top speed would go up. Our high speed cornering would go up. So it's not that it would be without improvements. As weak as the suspension is, we need to go intense with it. So it's going to take a month also for this project. It still costs under $1 million. If there's ever a race this season that I feel confident that it could go our way, as top speed is still something we are only average at, but cornering is something we are quite good at, probably the best. It's got to be Monaco, right? Last year we were 4th and 7th. Let's see, can we compete on merit in the dry? Actually, I have no idea what weather condition we're going to see, but dry or wet. If it's wet, I would be really surprised if we don't come away with a win. But in the dry, I'd like to think that we're going to be very competitive with the Red Bull. The 4 of us probably pulling away from the rest of the grid a bit.
Cars have been racing through Monaco streets since 1929, and this weekend is no exception, as we get to watch the new generation of world-class drivers take over Monte Carlo. This is the Monaco Grand Prix. Monaco is famous for its many narrow twists and corners, from the brake-heavy Le Rascasse to the treacherous Saint Devote. There are no proper straights to speak of, and it's extremely hard to overtake here. It sounds like simple advice, but getting up as high on that starting grid as possible is the best plan of attack. We might still be early in the season, but that doesn't mean we can sit back and relax. Everything is up for grabs, and nothing is certain at this stage. The competition is on.
On our banker lap, we've got Vettel out in front of us and really kind of reaching him in the worst of places. That very well could have impacted Doohan's time significantly. Porsche, we'll see about him. I'm hopeful that we are going to have a very, very competitive time. You can see Doohan did lose a full second. Porsche also off. Alpine looks very, very quick this race weekend, though, as I saw from practice. And then I had the old components on during practice and everything turned down. So where we are competitively, I don't know until we really get out here running. But we've got a brand new engine, brand new gearbox. Porsche's ERS, though, not good. His electronics are in fairly sad shape from the crash a couple of races ago. We're going to put new ones in there, but we're going to take a penalty to do so, and I'm definitely not taking a penalty for Monaco. Porsche in clean air, but here comes Ricciardo. We are going to get out just beyond him. I don't think it impacted us. But Doohan's the one that matters right now, as Doohan is obviously already a second off the pace. We're making a second run here early in the session. Porsche gets around, does not improve his time, but Doohan does. There you go. So Doohan 2/10 off, and both in the top 5 for now, and actually ahead of Verstappen. Verstappen carrying some sort of penalty for this race, and it definitely didn't happen in the last race. I didn't see anything happen in practice, So I'm guessing he's got a new component that he's carrying. That could be a real opportunity for us on a track such as this. With the better part of a second to spare, I think our 2 runs are going to be enough. Let's hope they are. We'll find out here in a moment. Taking a risk. P4, P5. And we hang on to it. There's two drivers behind us. Yep, we're good. We're good. Barely moved down. 6th and 7th. There is that Verstappen penalty. Schumacher also carrying a penalty for this one and already out in Q1. We are looking at heavy rain for the race. I think anything less than a win is going to be disappointing. Traffic not in our way for the banker lap, but for this banker lap, it's the same set of tires that we used on the previous 2. We're really trying to save something for the race, especially considering that we may, if race day conditions are variable, we might need a set or 2 of softs. So we are going to use 1, possibly, if we even go out again. For now, though, time is best of 7, but it's not that far ahead of these guys. Yeah, we're half a second off of Perez. So we will need to make that 1 more run. 6th and 7th after that first run, though, is definitely looking good. As is the custom this season, Q3, we're on the used set that we just had at the end of our Q2 run. Everybody else is out on their fresh set right now. So if we can get competitive top 5 here, that final run will be looking pretty dang good for something special. It's a decent time so far, but it's 5th and 6th after the first run. We ride on board with Porsche as we begin, and we'll see what we can do with this one. I'm hopeful of moving up from where we're at in 5th and 6th. Let's see what that fresh set, you can see just how quickly used the softs are. Gasly, purple, looks like he's going to be on pole. We're looking at Verstappen didn't even make Q3, so there's that. And then Sainz just ahead of us. If we can get both drivers ahead of him, we're looking really good in that head-to-head. McLaren's also behind us. Alpine is down the grid in terms of the championship. So if they're the teams we are competing with for the race win, plus maybe Perez, if that's the grouping, then we're looking good. Porsche, double green, didn't move up enough. Porsche, you can't go up the order. How can you go green in all 3 sectors when you were, I don't see how he didn't cover that ground. He was green in all 3 sectors and he was already about this close. Did Sainz improve his time? No way Sainz improved his time. So I don't see how we gained in all 3 sectors and didn't improve by, any noticeable amount. That is like inch minute performance gains, apparently. 5th and 6th is what it's going to be. But I'm glad that it's Alpine at the front.
Drivers are strapping themselves in, ready for race day.
Qualifying went well for Williams, as attested by their strong position on the grid. Now it's all about finding that edge for the race itself. McLaren did a decent job during qualifying. This is a solid grid position, and it certainly has the potential to lead to good race results.
Bold strategy incoming. We'll see if it pays off. So here's the idea. Here's the concept. We're going to go wet, intermediate, medium, just standard to get to the end of the race. We're going to push on the intermediates, and we're going to push like crazy on the wets, though the wets can't push like crazy the whole time. Here's where the strategy is bold. Everybody else is going to start the race on the intermediates. We're going to be the only ones out there on the wets. I bet you that is the call. 3.15 millimeters. It's going to dry out for 2 laps a little bit, according to weather reports. So we'll be in at, 2.5 after 2 laps, which means we're going to go backwards a little bit at the start. We're going to be off the pace. But then by lap 3 and into lap 4, we are going to see it eclipse that 4.15 4.0 for the millimeter for the rain. It's gonna hover right around 4, somewhere around lap 8 or 9, but otherwise it's definitely full wet conditions until it dries out enough to get down to intermediates, somewhere around here. Depending on how early that happens will determine. It looks like it's gonna get back to full wet conditions briefly, but this is way too dry to stay on the wets. This is problem territory for us because that's very much back into the wet conditions before getting back, that's 6-8 laps. You can lose a lot of time during that stretch. So we very much have the variable conditions today. Very much in variable conditions. How that's going to break down, how that's going to look, I don't know. But I think surviving 2 to 3 laps at the beginning on the wrong compound, I think is going to be worth it. I think we're going to end up gaining a lot right here at the very, very beginning. Everybody else is going to be on intermediates and pitting on lap 3 or 4. 5 at the latest. Either way, they're going to lose a lot of time on those two laps or so if they don't dive in immediately. We are going to lose time in the first couple of laps. It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt, but we're not going to lose 24 seconds. We're going to lose 6, 8, 2, 3. So by the time everybody pits, put on the wets, we're going to be up front. Let's hope I'm right.
The drivers are now in their race positions under somewhat rainy skies. Williams here. They might not be in the top 3 spots, but things could change fast once the race gets underway. And looking at the second Williams car. Not as close to the front as they might have wished for, but we know the race order can change a lot during those first few corners. The race start is mere seconds away. We're here and the streets are abuzz at the Monaco Grand Prix. It's lights out and away we go.
Moment of truth. Are we the... Oh, everybody went full wets. Surprise, surprise. Okay, I did not see that one coming. Look at that. It's already up to 3.6. So everyone knew better. I thought we were going to be the only ones. I really did. So P5, P6 off the start. All over the back of signs. I did not underfuel today because I was looking to be aggressive. Still looking to be aggressive here, but doing as you're behind your teammate, you don't need to be aggressive, so you can go neutral. And we'll ride on board with Porsche. See if we can't put signs under pressure. Okay, we're gonna get up the inside here. Can we get him under the braking zone? Nope, we are not even gonna attempt to tuck in or attempt to come out of that. I really thought we could have gotten up the inside there at Sandoval and forced him out of the way. I mean, we're all over the back of him. He's defending like crazy and losing Perez ahead of him already. And we're barely driving. I mean, we're hardly touching the gas pedal. Not sure how we've actually used any of our battery, but we clearly have, as Doohan's full and we're nowhere near it. As we've made no actual attempt at doing anything, but again, a chance to look up the inside and we don't. Alright, so the Alpines out front, Perez just behind, and then, Sainz is a little bit further back. Battery's empty without ever even getting pulling out from behind him. Like we never pulled out from behind him. We'll stay aggressive with the tires. That should keep us up on the back while we fill up the battery. Gap opening behind us as Bottas is about 3 seconds back now. Back trio well behind. That includes Verstappen. Verstappen is in 18th. I don't think he's going to feature in the points without some sort of massive assistance like a well-timed safety car. So it's lap 12. We're looking at being in these conditions for a while. 6.5 millimeters of rain. That's expected to continue on for a while yet. But at some stage, we will definitely be transitioning to the intermediates. And then have conditions go back wet again, or do you want to stay on the wets until it really starts to dry out? That's a definite question to ask. I'm starting to think switching up the strategy versus everybody else may not be the best tactic today. Or we mix it up. We have one guy pit, have the other one stay out. It's one good way to figure out which was the better strategy. Do both. By the way, we are just about hanging in there, and Bottas is 10 seconds behind us, so that second train of just 3 cars is well back. Sonoda in no man's land, and then, you know, those back guys come down.
Fastest lap.
27 seconds behind. Nice. New fastest lap. Back to within 4/10 on signs. So track water is at 4.02, meaning we're just about to hit intermediate conditions. And if you see, we are on a steady decline of, it should be drying out lap by lap by lap by lap. And then, of course, it's going to pick up again before then drying out a bit further. But if you look at where we're at right now versus where we're going to be there, it looks like we're going to have about 5 laps of just barely over 4.0. You're going to lose some time during that 5 laps. That's not going to be a good stretch. But at 4.02, I think we need to pit right now with Porsche. So Porsche down pit road. He is the first to venture in there, and it's already at a 3.93. Dewey just sets the new fastest lap. Magnussen, Russell also pitting. Sonoda also pitting. So we were the first. But we are definitely not going to be the last, and it's clear that switching to intermediates is the wise thing to do. 2.678, and Porsche. Obviously, we want him to be aggressive on this lap, as he could be moving forward. So we're going to go engine up.
We look at reducing
Let's
the
ride with Dewin. Dewin has already closed right up on signs. Yeah, not quite. It's about 9/10 behind him. He's closed the gap a little bit anyway on this lap.
Let's close this gap.
Let's go full attack and push for him as he's on his in lap here. Porsche has a little bit of clean air. It's just Bottas in front of him. He's 5 seconds, and you can see how he's closing up. He's now 21.9 back on Gasly. He's gaining. Gasly into the pits.
I'm into mine.
Okay, entering the pits. We're going to switch to Porsche shortly, but let's see how that pit stop goes. Of course, we are in a bad spot on pit road. There's the double stack for the Alpines. There's the switch to the intermediates, and we're held up. We're still held up. We're finally going. That was at least 2 cars getting by. And Porsche. Where's he going to come out at? He's going to get up beside the Alpine, and then he tucks in. We're ahead of one Alpine, though. We are ahead of one Alpine. We're still P5, P6. Bottas has not pit, though. So we're going to be up 1 position here momentarily, as I just noticed the funky light just fell into that area.
Increase.
Hello. Anyway, yeah, the P5, P6 is about to be P4, P5. We've gotten ahead of Ricardo. Lap times are just going to get better and better as track dries out. Obviously, we're going to be in the dry eventually, so these lap times are not going to hold at all. I got too many things on my windowsill that are breaking this light up. So there's nothing I can do about that. My window shade only goes down so far. Hello. Bottas going backwards. Overtake on. Can we push and get through? Can we take
Overtake is
advantage of the
available.
McLaren holding everybody up? Perez has gotten through. We're going to get up
Sure,
beside
you do
the
something.
Alpine. He is to our inside. But we are going to remain in place and then probably be able to carry on through the short straight here. And
And a
then
new
we cut to the
position.
insides.
Just
And
gained
get up
by
the inside of Sainz as well. And then, yeah, I don't know how to run cards side by side here. But there is Bottas. Will Bottas get out of the way? Can we stay ahead? Oh, come on. Why are you tucking back in? Can't get that out of the way. So, Porsche into second place. He's already driven away by more than 2 seconds in a very short period of time. Dewitt has made it past Gasly on his own, was almost past Sainz, and then when we start to help him out, that's when he decides that he doesn't want to do anything. Let's go, buddy. Let's go. Get up in there. Come on, you're backing off.
Copy.
I can hear the engine. He's lifting constantly. Let's go. Be aggressive. Get to the inside. Get to the inside. Let's go, let's go, let's go. All right, we're up to the inside of sides. 6 seconds already for Porsche. 6 seconds ahead. If you get ahead of Sainz, that's all that matters for the most part, because at some point, Bottas has to pit. Let's go, let's go. Finish the Sainz move at the very least. There you go. Get up beside Bottas. Yes. Okay, we are through. Okay, Bottas still holding things up.
Let's
Get out of this
reduce
view.
lifting coast by 1 level.
All right. We just saw his teammate well ahead. 7 seconds. So, Perez. Then 7 seconds further back is Porsche. And then 7 seconds further back is Dewitt. We are already 3.5 seconds ahead of Bottas in just a couple of corners. And then that's holding up just about the whole field. Sonoda also, no, Norris was. So both McLarens staying out on the wets, and it's not working out for them. Both McLarens well off the pace. We are getting closer to Perez.
Okay,
Both
there's a
cars are
big crash.
closing up on Perez. Sector 1, we've got to crash. Please, it's just yellow. It's just yellow. It's just yellow. No safety car,
We
please.
just had a crash on the track.
Leclerc with the crash. Not the leader, but that is one of the Ferraris. Sainz, Gasly have both gotten around Bottas. Bottas is now 28 seconds down. Did he pit? No, he did not. They just got past him is all. So we are 5 seconds ahead of Sainz, 6 seconds ahead of Gasly. That's compared to Dewitt. Compared to Porsche, it's 12 and 13. And then Bottas is at 30 and holding up the train once again. And then Norris was holding up the train. Ocon and Alpine recently got through, and then they're being held up there. You're looking at guys that are already nearly a lap down in Schumacher and Latifi. Things are drying out, but we are expecting the rain again soon. It is definitely not a put on dry compound kind of situation. Porsche from about 7.8 down to 6.1, so he's gained about 1.7 seconds on Perez. Just gained another 10th. Dewitt went from about 15 down when he first got around to now 13.4. But when we get in the wrong conditions, we are going to lose time. 4 minutes away from the heavy rain that is expected to bring the conditions back up near full wet conditions for about 5 laps before that stops and the track begins to dry out. Track is now dry, 0.99.
Copy.
Let's see who pits. Will anybody pit? It's only supposed to last for about 3 minutes. DRS is enabled? Wow, really? Compared to Perez. Porsche. Looks like a mistake. Oh, traffic. Traffic. We are lapping Schumacher, Norris, and Latifi all a lap down. We lost a couple seconds going around those guys. With Doohan, meanwhile, we are coming up on them now. It's Perez behind traffic. We've caught right on up. Perez is behind traffic. These are cars to get lapped. They're going to get blue flags. Pourchaire has made his way past Verstappen. We have lapped Max Verstappen. We still have 2 guys ahead of us, though. Full wet conditions. Here we go. We're into it. This is going to last for about 4 laps. So we are, again, going to be off the pace here. So the 4-second gap, expect that to go out. 11-second gap, expect that to go out. But look at the advantage we now have. We are 8 seconds ahead of Sainz and Gasly. And we are a pit stop ahead of Ricciardo. Is holding at about 4.5 millimeters. Well, I say that and it starts to change, but it looks like it's going to dry out in 3 minutes. Begin to dry out, that is. We are now 9 seconds back. Definitely off pace. Sainz is catching back up to Doohan. We are losing out right now. Bottas is actually, there's Bottas trying to unlap himself now, stuck behind us. Rain has stopped, apparently. Track's drying. Track is drying. It's time to switch. And we've got just enough of a gap with 7 seconds between us. We've got just enough of a gap to double stack when the time comes. Have caught up to him. He's got a race on his hands with those 2 for 3rd. The last podium spot. Pourchaire, though, still pretty comfortably in that with a 7-second advantage, even though, yes, they lost 10 seconds over that stretch. So 5 laps, 10 seconds. Well, no, he was down to a 5, right, in the aftermath. So lost 8 seconds. 8 seconds. And the gap between them stayed about the same. So they have similar adaptability ratings. They lost about 8 seconds in 5 laps. So realistically, we're looking at about 1.5 seconds a lap that they were off the pace during that stretch. But now that we're back down to damp conditions, so regular intermediates, while being on intermediates, you can see how their pace is steady. Gap quite steady, and he's actually slightly pulling away from Sainz, and we're still well ahead of Ricciardo. Not by a full pit stop anymore, but we are well ahead of him. There are 12 cars left on the lead lap. And where is the leader? Perez. You've got 2 just in front of him in Zhou and Stroll. And then he's on the verge of re-lapping some guys. In fact, it's happening. It's already happening as Norris in last place. Bottas, 19th and 20th. And, oh my goodness. Did that just happen? They're both past it. They are both past it. We're going to pit this lap. Okay, this is it. There's no more rain expected, so it is definitely time to put on the dry compounds. Pourchaire, 8 seconds back as we are attacking. 7 seconds back. We are catching really quick. And he's out without conflict. Doohan in. He's holding, and then he goes. He had to sit for about a second or 2. He is in some traffic, and he did not come back out in the position he went in on. Doohan loses 2 positions on that pit stop. Safety car comes out. Safety car. We've already made our pit. Safety car is coming out. It's a McLaren. It's a McLaren who has stopped. This is going to bring us right up on Perez, but it's Norris who crashed out. Oh,
Clearly,
straight in.
Very, very wrong there.
Track's still damp. Track is still damp. Now, how many are on the softs? How many are on the mediums? Because that can make our race. And everybody around us is on the softs. Everybody around us is on the softs. The softs are not going to go the distance. They're going to have to pit. Folks, we could be looking at a 1-2. Doohan gets held up on the pit stop because of that stupid pit box location that does not fix, does not adjust season by season like it should. And as we resume racing, we pick up with Dewin, who is now in P5, and we're on the mediums. Everybody else is around the sauce. So our main objective at the moment is to not go backwards, but if we for some reason can go forwards, that's awesome. Very disappointed that we lost those positions in the pits, but we are comfortably in our place. Porsche all over the back of Perez there. Okay, go ahead and go neutral for him. He's secured his position. Go ahead and settle in, and then now Dewin. Now there's a chance. That was a lot of laps under the safety car. A lot of laps under safety car because there were so many lap cars, so it took them a while to unlap themselves. There's a small chance that these guys can go the distance on the softs. The big thing, though, is the tire wear. And the back end of the grid are the guys that, for the most part, back end of the grid, are guys who didn't get through to Q3. And so they've got extra tires that were fresh. Guys at the front didn't. So they're all already at 83%, where the back is at, 90%. So once those fall below 60, that's when we're going to be able to make some overtakes. So we want to make sure that we're not going backwards, not getting overtaken in the short term. But as soon as those guys do fall below that threshold, we are going to, at that point, be aggressive. We have plenty of fuel to burn, so we can turn the engine up. Brand new engine, so we can get a lot of horsepower out of it. And we're going to have plenty of tires left compared to those guys as time goes on. But the first move we really want to make is once they get below 60%, that's where we want to try to go forward. Now, in the case of Porsche, we'll have to close back up on Perez first. In the case of Dewin, he's got 3 guys to try to get past. It's going to be a bit harder for him if they all stay out. Now, assuming these guys don't go the distance and have to pit, well, easy 1-2. Gap opening up behind as Sonoda and Co are falling off. So we're seeing those guys get further behind in 7th and 8th. Russell Magnussen are falling behind, but Perez is pulling away from us. He is 3 seconds ahead, and then we're holding up Sainz, Gasly, but Dewin staying close, and actually still managing to get about a second ahead of Ricardo at this stage.
Okay,
and we see a crash. Virtual safety car. VSC is better than safety car. Big gap behind us.
Sounds like there's been a crash. Let's have a look. Let's have a look here. This was the Aston Martin.
Oh, on his teammate.
There's the crash.
Big casino square there. That looks like a bit of a banger that sees him out. We've got big old gap to the back. Big splits behind. Gaps to Perez. 4 seconds for us. And that goes through Ricardo. And then we're looking at 10 seconds for Russell, Magnussen, and then 13 for Ocon, Sonoda, Show. Stroll's at 18, and then there's the big gap. So Stroll was just behind Vettel. Looks like Vettel's still moving. Vettel not out of the race? Nope. Vettel's still in the race. So he got going again. So that VSC should be ending here pretty soon. But it's starting to make me think that between the lengthy safety car and now a virtual safety car, that these guys have a pretty dang good chance of going the distance. 2 incidents really helping them out. 12 laps to go. But they're going to lose some pace. They are going to lose some pace, so that could be good. As we go up the hill after Sandoval, okay, just a 10th behind. We're all over the back here. And we're going to get up the inside. We are getting up the inside of the Alpine, and we are around Gasly. There's one position. Porsche has 3.5 seconds of catching up to Perez still to do. So
And a
he
new
doesn't
position
need to worry about
just
going
gained
forward.
by
So
Williams.
still with Doohan, as Doohan needs to. We've got the battery. Let's save this until we're a little bit closer. We're going to get up the inside quite easily. Wow. Didn't expect that to be so easy. Move fastest lap. Settle in.
Lifting coast level 3.
Neutral.
Copy.
Alright, now. Can
that's
we...
good. That's good.
We're back into second and third. Can we close up on Perez? Can we catch up to him? He's been quick all day. But Sainz is in the fastest car. And we just overtook him quite easily. 53s. Those, yeah, losing some pace. But Perez managed his tires a little bit better. Keep an eye on the gap. 3.6. Somebody had a moment. Verstappen running wide. Verstappen all the way down in P13. 30 seconds behind. Second and a half back, so we are starting to pull away from Sainz. It means he is not going to be getting DRS anymore. Gasly, Magnussen into the pits. Sainz pits, Ricardo pits. We did all that hard work to overtake them, and they ended up pitting. We were kind of banking on the fact that they probably wouldn't. 2.3 back. Doohan also coming along. He's just 3 seconds down on Perez. .3. Once we get in within a second, we're going to go back to neutral for a little bit. Let the DRS help close it up. And save the fuel for a move later on. Ocon into the pits. Second Mercedes. Back-to-back laps for them. Has Leclerc pit? No, Leclerc has not pit. Neither has Perez. So far it appears they are planning on staying out as we get within 1 second. Okay, now we can go fuel up again. We're at 56% by the way, so we are not getting quite the advantage we had before. This overtake may be harder. We are looking for a 1-2 here, folks. Doohan, still 2 seconds back. He needs to catch up. No pit stop. I have a feeling at this point he's going to stay out and continue on. We have a look. We had another look, and we're having a third look. We're all over the back of that gearbox. We've had 3 looks in just a handful of corners. There we go. To the inside and past. Quite quickly, quite easily. Neutral. Standard.
And there's an overtake from Williams.
Balanced. All right, Doohan, you're up, buddy. Porsche into the race lead. Already half a second ahead. He's going to easily make these last 2 laps. In fact, we're coming up on white flag. This race is almost done. 49%. Aggressive. Overtake. I'm not sure Doohan's going to catch up. It's last lap. He might be too far back.
Okay, we can
He
easily
is
overtake.
1.2 down on Perez. 1.1 down. He was 2 seconds back just a little bit ago. Just about a lap ago. He's gained a second, but can he make an overtake? Are we looking at first and third? Are we looking at first and second? Are we looking at something horrendously bad? We are 18 seconds ahead of Sainz, though. Sainz pit. Zhou did not. Can't tell with these guys. I think they pit. And 39, 33%. That should be where you're at. We've closed the gap. 7 tenths, 6 tenths. But where you make the overtake isn't going to happen unless we can get to the inside right here. Can we get to the inside right here? Full deploy.
Let's close
Come
this
on.
gap.
I don't think we're going to do it. Unless we get up the inside for Larascas. Can we dive to the inside? No. Even if you get him on the exit here, it's going to be too late. So first and third, Porsche takes the win. Perez takes second.
Checkered flag.
Doohan,
Checkered flag.
decent third place. The rookie made no mistakes today. He got unlucky. He really did get unlucky when it came to that pit stop. Losing those 2 positions. We recovered
Checkered
it.
flag.
He got back up to third. Sainz well back, takes P4. Zhou, Gasly, Ricciardo, the Alpines only end up 6 and 7. The McLarens, no points, so that's huge. Sainz, Red Bull, only Red Bull, and he's only 4th. So 6 points for them. We're going to gain 18. We're gaining 12 points on Red Bull. We're gaining serious points on each and every one of our competitors today. But one additional point would have been nice from doing, but I will happily take a double podium and race win. That is our best result of the season by far. Porsche are up to 3rd in the constructors on 32 points, just 7 shy. So if he wins the next race, you could potentially see him at the top, and Jack Doohan on 21. Definitely has seen some rookie mistakes. His overall accuracy is slightly better than Porsche's, but if you remember, Season 1, we haven't really touched the accuracy side of things. Porsche made mistakes Season 1. Season 2, he made less. Jack Doohan, Season 1, making some mistakes. He's had 2 podiums now. Porsche has had 2, and both of them are wins. On the constructor side of things, we are closing that gap. In fact, we are up to 2nd place. McLaren without points today, and our 16 is enough to overtake them. We are 5 points ahead, 15 back of Red Bull. But realistically, this season is feeling like 2nd place and just trying to close that gap. Consistent, be a podium type finisher. We had so much help the season before with wet conditions constantly, and then we had a really good car at the start of last year and got some help. Second half of the year was a struggle. It's just that everybody else wasn't there, wasn't good enough, and we kept picking up just enough points to stay ahead. We weren't the 2nd best team last season. We lucked out a bit. I think we are starting to have what could arguably be the 2nd best car. Or close to it anyway. It looked like it today. That is going to do it for this episode, though. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there, and bye for now.